3 apps that you can't live without.
Figma, Workflow, VWO. I would recommend women to not fear getting into this industry, because there are so many opportunities and it's getting easier and easier to get into it. It doesn't matter if your ads are optimized or driving traffic. If your landing page doesn't convert, it's in the end you're not going to get the result that you want. My journey has been a very hybrid one. For example, I got the degree in design. I did some internship in the beginning, but it wasn't aligning with my interests and values. So I iterated and I pivoted into another domain. I went into web development, design. So it has been a huge change from that, but I still have been doing design, UX, because it's very easy to expand on some subject and go overboard. But you have to be aware of your audience and the time. Yeah. So be short and concise, and touch upon important aspects as well. The advice I would give to someone that is running an experiment is to not peak at the beginning of the experiment and freak out if the results are not as you were expecting, because in most cases the outcome is not going to be the same as you first think about it. It can be a bit challenging, for example, when you're dealing with agencies, because sometimes the dynamic changes very much. Sometimes they have like an internal team that you have to deal with, so sometimes we don't align. So that can be like a friction point in that matter.
Welcome to another episode of the Women in CRO series by VWO Podcast. This series is an ode to the contribution of women in the CRO industry. Before we speak to our special guest for this episode, here's a quick summary of who we are and what we do. VWO is a leading experience optimization platform that helps fast-growing brands optimize their digital experiences. Using our latest product, VWO Insights, you can understand user journeys and identify conversion roadblocks on your website and mobile app. So, without any further delay, let's jump right into the conversation.
Hi everyone, my name is Priyanka, the host of today's podcast. I work as a CSM at VWO. Before we begin with the introduction of our guest today, I would like to thank everyone for choosing to spend your time with us. So in conversation with us in today's episode, we are thrilled to welcome Alexandra Cîmpan, the CRO lead at Peermill, joining us from Spain. With an extensive experience background in CRO itself, she brings not only her seasoned expertise in the experimentation program, but also her rich entrepreneurial experience. So sit back and relax and join us in extending a warm welcome to Alexandra.
Hi Priyanka, thank you very much for the invitation. Excited to be here. This is my second time. I've done a podcast in the past with VWO, so it has been a pleasure.
I hope everything is working well for you. I also wanted to, I've been conducting webinars for a while now, and I used to feel slightly overwhelmed at the beginning of it. So I just wanted to, understand a couple of things from you. What do you do? Any prep that you do before joining the webinar? If you can, any best practices, habits that you get into right mindset.
For me, it works. It's very important to compile all your high-level thoughts in a document. So after that, you can expand further on that. So my first advice is to have a direction and try to follow that, because it's very easy to expand on some subject and go overboard. But you have to be aware of your audience and the time. So be short and concise, and touch upon important aspects as well.
So I think little more organization and little more pre-work definitely can help. For sure.
Yes.
Sure. All right. So I think go ahead.
We're currently preparing another webinar, and I have a colleague that hasn't been involved in this, so it will be her first webinar, and she was a bit nervous in this aspect, and I told her to not be nervous at all, because it's even if it's your first time, you're going to be learning how to do it, and try to learn
Yeah,
from your mistakes. Or
yeah, I
so
think yeah,
it's good to put yourself out there.
for
Mm.
sure. I think I also have learned a lot from my each webinar. So I think it's a great way. The more you conduct
Mm.
webinars, the more you read about it, the more you analyze your webinars. It's a great chance to learn from them as well.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect, perfect. So I think
Yeah.
moving on to our very first segment for today's conversation, what inspired you to take up a career in the CRO space, and how has your journey been so far?
My journey has been a very hybrid one. For example, I got a degree in design, which
Mhm,
I did some internship in the beginning, but it wasn't aligning with my interests and values.
mhm,
So I iterated and I pivoted into another domain. I went
mhm.
into web development, design. So it has been uh, a huge change from that, but I still have been doing design, UX, UI. So this hybrid approach kind of helped me, get into the CRO domain much easier
Yeah, yeah,
because you can extrapolate a lot of learnings. And for example, when you are to implement an A/B test or even design or review designs, it's very important to have some kind of background information, background
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah,
So that
I,
has helped me enormously. So I would
yeah,
advise, for example, for like newcomers,
yeah,
if you're coming from a new background, don't fear, getting into it. It's
for sure. I think
challenging, but yeah, you
Yeah,
you can
I
learn
think
a
I've
lot.
just taken what you were saying, because I remember when I started my CRO journey at the very first, it was
Mm,
very, very difficult for me to understand the background, what goes behind to create a particular hypothesis and then implement it. It's great. I like you mentioned, since you have diverse, verified,
mm,
where you actually manage entire operation of backend things. I think that definitely helps to kind of
yes,
then
yes.
little more learn about CRO. Can you also then remind us of any specific project or achievement that you are particularly proud of, that you achieved?
Yes, one that really stands out.
Yeah.
We are like at Paramil, we are a performance marketing agency, so we deal with paid social, paid search, and one of our focus is also like creative optimization and CRO.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, for this specific project, we were working with a paid social team, and
Mm-hmm.
we had a particular client that wanted to optimize their ad spend to increase to reduce the cost per acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to decrease that cost per acquisition for, I think, 60%. It was like quite dramatic, and improve
That's
the conversion rate also like double. And
that.
the thing about it is that it was such a low hanging fruit. The
Yeah.
thing is, for example, when you're analyzing and doing like a heuristic analysis of the landing page in question,
Yeah.
it's it's important to analyze, to go first, like for example, like what are the things that you can fix faster and get like faster results. So if you can identify problems that are actual problems,
Yeah.
you can magnify your results by a lot. So in this instance, for this project, we basically we reduce the friction in the
Yeah.
conversion path. And of course, people didn't have to like navigate another page. They had a form where to um, add information, and it was a much faster approach in converting the lead than to navigate to other pages. So yeah, but it's also like a cumulus of how can I tell it, like practices. It's not just looking at frictions or best practices. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to also identify other projects, other problems that are related to data. So it can be like a more holistic path.
For sure. I
Yeah.
think when I started my journey, I often used to struggle. How can I set the correct expectation of my clients? In the beginning, like you mentioned, that you
Mm,
were managing to double the metrics that they intended to
mm-hmm.
achieve. I also would like to learn from you how what's the correct way to set up the expectations, even for of the beginner who just started the CRO.
Uh, for you mean for a beginner
Yeah, yeah,
employee?
the
Or just,
yeah,
hmm I think um, you have to be very careful or
yeah,
very aware of your primary metrics and secondary metrics.
yes.
And I mean, if you're a beginner, you should be, I would advise that you expand your knowledge. So there are like
Mm-hmm.
many resources online, many courses that you can take to get better at it. For example, in my case, I in the beginning I took a course,
Mhm,
and I'm still like enrolled. It's like an
mhm.
active enrollment, active learning, and that helped me
Yeah.
a lot in
Any
my
spe-
journey.
yeah, I think that completely makes sense. Any specific key pointers you feel that has worked for you to adapt the experimentation at your organization or help you to push your clients to adapt the experimentation cycle? Any key aspect that you can share with us?
Yes, it's very important to educate, to have
Yeah,
this educational aspect when you're
yeah,
dealing with clients, because in some cases they would come with a brief, you want to do this, and that's okay. We think we're going to get this outcome. But in some cases, their approach is not optimized. So
yeah.
we as professionals, we need to, give our best advice to them, and if we can, just we can change their opinion.
That's
But I think it's very important to educate this educational process. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think
So,
I also remember. I think the education for CRO. I think it's the base, it's the foundation, and then we can build
mm,
onto the onto top of it.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Another challenge that I also feel in CRO is data hygiene. I think one of the biggest
Mm,
challenges when it comes to ensure the data hygiene and integrity throughout the CRO process. Do you
yeah.
have any best practices? How can we then ensure we are maintaining those? Any best practices to take care of those?
The advice I would give to someone that is running an experiment is to not peak at the beginning of the experiment and freak out if the results are not as you were expecting, because in most cases it's the outcome is not going to be the same as you first think about it.
Mhm.
So yeah, be calm and let the experiment run. In some cases, you can see something, okay, this is very dramatic, so it doesn't make sense to continue the experiment. But most of the cases, it's not like that. So I would recommend to, stick to your initial hypothesis, let the experiment conclude, and then, even if it fails, you can extrapolate like a lot of learnings from it. So
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
help your new experiment. You can iterate on that or just, go with another hypothesis. And also another aspect would be to have your like quality assurance
yeah,
to focus or dedicate a lot of not a lot of time, but some time to it, because it's going to minimize your errors. So that's like very important. Like many
yeah.
errors you can make, when setting and maybe test or
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's a very good point. So I think, like you mentioned, I believe that CRO is a constant, ongoing process. So from each experiment, even if it's inconclusive or
Mm,
uh, we have a positive result, we should always go back and see if at all we can then capture any learnings and then reuse in the another hypothesis to then optimize the entire user journey.
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah. Any
yes.
specific advice? Yeah, correct. Any
Sorry.
specific advice for maybe since I believe I mean CRO is quite a male dominant industry. A lot of I think different operations
Mm,
are majorly male dominated. Do you have any best practices, or especially for women? Women, if they what kind of advice do you have for them? How they can still go ahead and stand out?
uh-huh. As I said, if you're a newcomer, please, please learn, please enroll in a course because there's like so many resources online and so much opportunities for growth in this arena. I mean, there are like
Yeah.
so many fields and roles that you can, you know,
Hmm.
you can be a CRO specialist,
Yeah.
landing page designer, even in the building part, you can be landing pages. So yeah, the educational aspect is very important, but
Yeah.
also uh, I would I would suggest that you feed your curiosity. So and also not fear because sometimes it's a bit hard to put your ideas forward. If you have someone that is
Yeah.
uh, how do you call it, like
Great.
a hippo or something, when you're dealing with the highest person on the room, highest person paid on the room. But I think it's important, yeah, to go with
Just be
you have.
fearless. Yeah.
Hmm, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think because CRO is an experimentation, and we are also trying out of a lot of things. So it's always better to put out and test your idea out before even you conclude on anything.
yes. And yeah, what I've learned also is that the more variations going you're going to run, I think the better outcome you're going to have. It's so
Yeah.
important, the test velocity, and also
Mhm.
having these variations, different copy, different design, because yeah, it will amplify your chances of getting a lot of more learnings actually, even if it
For,
fails.
for sure. I
So
think
that's the
I
important part. Mm.
Yeah, that's correct. So when you mentioned we can also have more variation, I have often seen that a lot of users also have this concern that the more variation they create, the more time they would require to conclude
Mm.
any campaign.
Yes,
Do you think that's fair, and what kind of then best practices they should consider?
yes. The thing is, I mean, you can go for
Mm-hmm.
less impact, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to spend that much time because
Yeah.
let's say you have a variation, you have a hypothesis, and you
Yeah.
can vary it you can have some variations that are less effort. You
Mm-hmm.
can just change, little elements, the copy,
Mm-hmm.
and it can inform a lot of design decisions. So I think if you don't have the resources,
Mm-hmm.
then focus on creating variations that are less time consuming, but still, produce them because I think that would give you more results. Mm.
That's I think that's completely fair. I believe since you have also worked for such a long time in the CRO industry, do you think there are any biggest misconception about CRO, and how do you feel that we should be then overcoming that misconception?
Um, yes, one of the misconception, for example, when dealing with clients,
Yeah,
sometimes they don't see the importance of it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's sometimes it's like left behind, especially if you're coming from a performance marketing agency. You're focusing on paid search, paid social, and all that. But it's so important to optimize the entire funnel and to have a landing page that it's optimized because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if your ads are optimized, are driving traffic.
Yeah.
If your landing page doesn't convert, it's in the end doesn't you're not going to get the result that you want. So it's very important to think of CRO as an important part.
In terms of maybe other pages as well, do you think focusing on low hanging fruit? Even I've seen that most of the times, users just or people just whosoever are working on the CRO, they tend to pause the test in between within just 1 weeks of time. So do you think that is also fair? They should run the test for a little long to learn more about the result. When should they conclude any test? Any thoughts on those?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you can take different approaches. Not necessarily you can, you know, take a
Mm-hmm.
risk and not necessarily wait for the experiment to achieve statistical significance. You
Mm-hmm.
can look at it from a Bayesian approach.
Mm-hmm.
We normally look at, for example, if it has like more than 80% probability of being a winner, sometimes we ship if you have
Mm-hmm.
the confidence and the data is right.
Yeah,
Then
that's really
yeah,
great. Yeah. So I think now also we have seen a lot of changes in terms of AI transforming, and I think it brings our life so much easier, even with respect
yes,
to when it with GPT. Do you think that envisioning AI transformer CRO will also have any impact? What kind of impact we can foresee for CRO industry?
yes. I'm thinking more of in the terms of how we can
Mhm.
facilitate our work. You know,
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of automation, like repetitive tasks, how we can get our work faster,
Yeah.
and also it can be a great opportunity for discovering like new aspects in user behavior,
Yeah.
something that you might have missed. So it's
Do
important to
you
see how it will go in the future. Can
for sure?
facilitate that work a lot, I think.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Well, I have also seen a lot of users now generating ideas with the AI generate approach itself. So
Mm,
they just
mm.
their uh, goals that they would like to achieve, their friction areas, and then the AI prompt with the couple of ideas. Do you have you practiced this at your end? Do you feel that we can then practice this or consider approaching by the AI transformation?
Yeah, I think for generating ideas, it's a very good point.
Yeah.
Um, we have like some convoluted opinions on this.
Yeah.
For example, in the copywriting arena,
Yeah.
it's a bit tricky to talk about it because a lot of copywriters don't see this, approach as very good for the industry.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that, for example, at this stage, it's not that good, but it can get better in the future.
I
We
think
actually
there are.
have we actually have a post about in our blog about ChatGPT and it's in relation to copywriting. So that's a very fun read.
Or I think it would be great reading through those articles to learn more about how now in the future CRO will
Yeah,
progress.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
Mm,
think it was so very lovely talking to you. If you can also share any female personality that has inspired you in this particular field or in general, I think that would be really
yes.
great.
I'm thinking of Lucia van der Brink, if I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing correctly her name.
Mhm.
I think I know that she started some project. I think it's called Women in CRO.
Mhm.
So this project it's bound to give women in this field like more visibility. So
Mhm.
I think it's very valuable. So whatever project may come from existing businesses or agencies that can promote women in this arena and bring visibility in this field, I think it's very important to
Yeah.
bring forward and mention. Yeah.
Any, I mean,
Mm,
on that point, because I feel that it's very, very important to then voice out your opinions, be it
mm,
anything, even if it's like putting word forward with your management, helping them the roadmap that you have structured. How can we ensure that they see value in the work that we do? But do you think any biggest challenge that you personally have faced and you overcome with them when it comes to the CRO industry? Because in as we know that's slightly predominantly by male.
yes.
So do you
Yeah.
have any such challenges that you can share with us?
Yes. It can be a bit challenging, for example, when you're dealing with agencies,
Yeah.
because sometimes the dynamic changes very much. Sometimes they have like um, an internal team that you have to, deal with. So sometimes we don't align that well. So we're trying
Often.
to push what we believe is it's best for them. So
Yeah.
that can be like a friction point in that matter. And then
So,
again, dealing with the highest person paid in the room can be challenging.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you learn a lot from these experiences, how to, delegate and manage and react to these things, and how to better communicate also.
That's I couldn't relate to it more. I personally have faced these challenges a lot, so I can definitely learn. But I think, like you mentioned, eventually, when you the more elaborate or the more easy you can put your point forward, I think it's
Mm,
better for the users or your management to
yes,
relate to you and then try to understand your point of view as well.
yes, because
But
sometimes you have to go against their initial idea and can be challenging to communicate that. But I think it's important always to, try to do your best and what's best for the business overall.
sure, for sure, that definitely makes sense. I think thank you so much for the wonderful guidance that you share with us. This brings to us to end of the CRO segment. But if you can also share one piece of wisdom with our listeners, what would that
Mm.
be?
Okay, I would recommend women to not fear getting into this industry, because there are so many opportunities and it's getting easier and easier to get into it because all the resources, courses, and all the information available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any particular courses, reading material that you would
Yes, yes. I would highly recommend cxl.com. They have a plethora of courses, mini degrees in CRO, experimentation, A/B testing, landing pages. So I think it's a great starting point from there. And also, if you can,
Mhm.
I would recommend, if you don't have, for example, in your company, I would
Mhm.
recommend asking for like an education stipend,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
can, grow every year. For example, we have
thank
that
you.
in our company, and it's like the best, my
Yeah,
favorite thing. And also, I would recommend attending conferences because you can network and learn a lot from the professional
yes.
in this field. Yeah.
Perfect. I think since we are talking a lot, about the about women's, would definitely love to understand or learn how do you celebrate usually Women's Day? Any particular thing that you would like to do on the Women's Day to treat yourself great?
I might maybe go traveling, just to go outside, do something nice for yourself. I was thinking for myself, just traveling around the Basque Country. I currently
Uh,
live there, like in northern Spain, close to France. So
Beautiful.
take time for yourself.
For sure. I think I really would want to visit Spain. I am planning to visit Turkey early this year. So,
Oh,
yeah.
you should definitely come to Spain. Please come to northern Spain, Basque
Oh,
Country. We have the best food there,
oh, no,
and the views
I,
are just incredible.
I've,
It's so
I've heard
less touristic also, so
yeah,
that's
a lot of
nice.
my friends already been there, so I've heard a lot of it, and I cannot be more eager to visit it very soon, and definitely take itineraries from you.
Yeah, yeah. We'll keep in touch. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. I think now I have a surprise segment for you, which is like a
Okay.
rapid fire, where you have to answer questions rapidly. So, are you ready for the fun round
Yes,
now?
let's do that.
Perfect. So here's your first question. So, if you can help us learn three apps that you can't live without.
um, a Figma, Workflow, VWO.
Oh, that's great. And apart from that, any social life in general in person that you really like apart from the digital apps, the work apps,
Work apps.
like any
Uh,
social
how
that
can
you
be
would
like
like.
meditation or social. LinkedIn is a good one. I recently started being more active there, so I think it's a great opportunity to be more present there.
Yeah.
And in terms of meditation, I use the Calm app. Other, mm, that's it.
No way. So if a movie was made about your life, the title would
Mhm.
be?
What the title would be? Hmm. Um,
Anything, and even
how
the
to?
space movie.
Yeah. How to have a hybrid role and not die in the in the process.
Very, very relatable, I must say.
Very dramatic.
For sure. One thing that you would like to change about the CR industry.
uh, hmm. I would like to, yeah, the for example, the inclusivity
Yeah.
aspect, bringing more
Mhm.
awareness into, for example, making it easier for persons that want to get into this field. So lowering a bit the entry level. A lot of businesses can make it easier for people, like providing internship, mentorship, and all that. So it would be very valuable.
Sure. Any guilty pleasures TV show that you are like following now?
I think I've seen Fleabag. It's a TV series on Prime. I think I've watched it several times, and it's really good.
I think I've been following a lot of Indian language stuff for a while now, but I am definitely
Oh,
going to look at
you should check it
the.
out. It's very funny, very good humor.
I will definitely look at that. All right. Any three books that you would like to recommend to our listeners, be it CRO or non CRO?
Yes, I would recommend books related to A/B testing, experimentation. There's one with I don't remember the name, but it's I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very common in this field. And then any other book that touches on user experience or UI UX design, I think it's very valuable.
Yeah. So, if you had a chance to podcast, what is the first person? Who is the first person that you will invite on your show? Would it be the
Um,
you
yes,
inspired?
I think I would have a conversation with Lucia van der Brink or the Queen CRO. I don't remember her name, but this is what she calls herself, so that would be interesting.
All right, all
Mm.
right. So, what is the one superpower that you would like to have?
Um,
Uh,
so
and
supernatural,
yeah, go ahead.
maybe being able to move from city to city or faster, travel more, but I don't know in a in a very
I
um,
think in Spain you can still move faster, even you can cross countries more faster than that we can in India. So I think it's
we have
it's
a good infrastructure and fast trains here in Spain, but yeah.
all right. So the one thing that you are tried of explaining to your boss, but then it just skipped off their mind.
One thing that I tried explaining,
Your boss or maybe the client that they must do.
I'm going to tell you something uh, um, a bit in reverse because um, we have like quarterly goals in our company, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
proposing actually to take experimentation certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And this certificate was like very um, it had like many modules. It wasn't organized or anything, so I would have to basically compile all the information and do a lot of work. And my boss said
Mm-hmm.
to me, one of the stakeholders, uh, told me like, why don't you take the exam just, without studying, just to see how it goes. And I didn't think of it, because I'm a bit structured. I wanted to, to succeed, but I think it's important to maybe take the shorter approach, or just be a bit bolder in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really great initiative. And I think on that note, it brings us to the very last question. But I think it's very, very important for us to learn about that. Any one goal or dream that you want to achieve in the next 3 years?
Oh wow.
This is really interesting.
um, I would like to be able to. You mean in my personal life or just professionally?
anything, anything that you can
Okay.
share with us. Yeah,
I would like to
you
be
would like.
able to travel more and
Yeah,
explore more cities, because it's so great to meet new people and new cultures. And yeah, if you have the opportunity to do it, I would really love to do that.
for sure. For sure. All right, I must say the last segment was filled with a lot of fun and a lot of insights from your personal life as well. And it was really great to know that. Um, Once again, I really thank you for joining us today and our listeners for choosing this podcast. I hope we get a chance to connect and share our knowledges frequently. And I think I'm sure that we will be in touch on LinkedIn. So if at all I wish to intend to learn more about CRO, because I'm also learning new things about CRO. I'm looking forward to learn from you and grow from you from here.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Let's stay in touch.
For
Thank you
sure,
for
for
the
sure.
opportunity.
No worries. You have a lovely day ahead, and
You,
I'll talk to you very, very soon, and we'll keep in touch.
you too.